to that, and with your incredible smile and your introduction, I really appreciate that. Thank you. How are you doing today yourself?
I'm very excited, Fred, because every day I get to have fantastic people like you and our guest, Red, who just share so much wonderful joy in the world. And that's what this whole platform is all about, giving people a place to share their story. So let's hear a little bit about you and your story, Fred, before we bring out Red.
Okay, well, I just I'm 76 years old, and what I've lived my last several, I mean, for the last several decades, it's all been about attitude. And I've noticed it in the corporate world that I worked in. I noticed it when I was a musician about people. I noticed it everywhere I go. When I go to speaking engagements, whether I go to listen to speakers or whether I'm speaking myself, it's a person's attitude is so important. In fact, Tom Ziegler, he bestowed a title on me called the Attitude Guru, and I'm trying to wear it proudly and live up to it. And I believe that you change your attitude, you can change your life in anything you do. So whatever I do, even in the leadership with an attitude seminars that I do for corporations and stuff, it's all about attitude. When it's about safety, all my safety with an attitude seminars are about the attitude about safety and the person's attitude, not just rules and regulations. It's just more than that. It's the people inside, what goes on in their heart and up here. So that to me that's what I do.
Thank you, Fred, and you do it so well. And I wish you can share a little bit with our audience about the work that you do at some of the senior centers and what you find with people's attitudes after you speak with them.
Oh my gosh. I love working with the seniors in these. For the last almost 6 years now, I've done numerous of my seminars at these assisted living homes, memory care centers, and retirement communities. And these people, they're so full of memories, wisdom, knowledge, all of the things I've talked to World War II pilots and people that were in the war, nurses that are like 104 years old, and they're brilliant. They talk about it. They have such wealth and stories to tell. It's wonderful. And I love to share with them, not only give their attitude up and, entertaining them, making them laugh, because I love to tell jokes, but it's about how to change their attitude and increase their health and their gratitude, their faith in everything they do all day long. And I tell you what, I've had such great feedback from these wonderful seniors. I call them my treasured seniors. Even though it's 76, I'm almost there. But I love when I see the results in some of the people I've shared my health with an attitude with. I see the results the next time I see them. They say, I've done what you said for me to do. I've followed your instructions. I've said positive affirmations, and I feel better every day. And the people around me aren't as grouchy. It's all about your attitude. I love it.
Well, you wear it very well, and I love it too. And you mentioned about health, and of course, all of us probably at some point in our life will have some kind of health challenge, and your attitude definitely makes a big difference in how you get through that. And we've got someone who he's going to say he's not an expert, but he really is an expert in so many areas. His name is Mr. Red.Olaughlin. And for those of you who are fans of the show, you probably already know that I've been working with Red for, I think, just under a year. He is my book coach, and he is my mentor and my friend. He's also been with us on our team for A Better You. And he is with us on our platform going forward, which we'll save that announcement for another day. So let's welcome him to the program. It's Mr. Red.Olaughlin.
Howdy, all. Really
nice
appreciate the opportunity. Really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here. So, Fred, I'll let you start off. How did you and when did you meet Fred and Red?
Well, first of all, I love his last name. That caught my attention right away. Red.Olaughlin, you can't be missing that now, can you, Shirley? So that caught my attention. But I started reading some of his articles on LinkedIn about health, vitamins, nutrition. And I thought, this guy is sharp. I really like that. And I touched base with him, and I made comments on LinkedIn about his articles, and he responded back. And then he sent me a message about, well, we need to chat. So we got together, we chatted for about 30 minutes and stuff, and we've been chatting back and forth a little bit. So delightful character. He's got a fantastic attitude, big smile and a glint in his eye when you have a glint in your eye, you're up to something, you know. So he always his blogs and his the 3 books that he's written that I hope he talks about are fantastic. He's got a great attitude about treating problems. You know, you treat the solution. You treat a symptom. You're just going to treat a symptom. If you treat the root cause, you're going to solve a problem. And I love that what you say, because that's so true. And we always go after just treating a solution. You know, I mean, the symptom, instead of putting a Band-Aid on it, we need to find out what happened. So yeah, he's been a delightful character to meet.
And Red is always somebody who says yes. If he can make it happen, he definitely will. One of the things he's really an expert in is working with first-time authors. He's got this fabulous process that he uses to make the whole process of publishing a book less daunting, and it can happen quickly. I think Red, with me, we started I want to say March, maybe it was, I don't remember, January, February, but the book was, go ahead.
I think it was January, and we started out in one direction, and then you decided, after talking with some other experts, that maybe you needed to shift the direction we were going in, and we did that literally in one meeting. And about 3, maybe 4 weeks later, your book was done. We got it published a week or so later. Less than a week later, you had your ebook done. A week after that, you were #1 best-selling author on Amazon.
Exactly.
And you're working on book number 2 and book number 3 now that will also be #1 best-selling books on Amazon, without a doubt in my mind.
And Red is a really good accountability partner. So he's keeping me accountable to getting the work finished, which is good. We need somebody to keep us on point. So Red, let's talk a little bit about your background and what it was that inspired you to start writing your blogs every day, to write your books, to publish, and to focus a lot of it on health.
Okay, easily. Let me go ahead and start out with following up with what Fred said earlier. I celebrated my 75th birthday this year with a blessed case of COVID, actually. Very mild case. My wife was 2 days behind me, so we ended up with a slight cough and some fatigue, and that was it. We blew right through it very, very nicely. We did get the monoclonal antibodies, which helped tremendously. But what got me started in, I guess about January, a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to just write every day for a month. I had 31 days. And I'd done this before with another group. I think it's about January 1st of 2014. And I started writing every day, just 500 words. And that became 100 days, 300 days, 500 days, 1,000 days. And literally, I hadn't missed a day in writing since about 2014 until I caught COVID. And then all of a sudden, I was on a 3-week sabbatical and back doing what I do. But the blog writing really and truly started with my focus on motivation, self-improvement. My first couple of books were in that area. Then my wife came down with breast cancer, and part of the process of doing that, I joined a couple groups, one of them NaNoWriMo, which basically trying to write a 30 to 60,000 word book in 1 month. But my focus changed because of my wife's breast cancer, from writing on motivation, self-improvement, self-esteem, to let's find out a little bit more about disease. My first love was chemistry, long before I met my wife. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to do much with it. I got my degree and ended up immediately with an invitation to go to Vietnam, basically. And I did my time there in the military, got out, joined the reserves, and toward the end of my career, I ended up with another invitation to go to Bosnia. But 31 years in the military, but my real true love was chemistry. And when my wife's problems started to evolve, side effects, I started diving into it. And I found out, hey, I love doing this. I delve down, I dive down, research what goes on in the human body at the cellular level, chemically, biochemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. You treat a cause, you stop a problem. You treat a symptom, you'll always be treating the symptom. And so my first book dealt with longevity. What are the causes of aging? And in that book, I define exactly what those causes are. There's only a couple of them, but there's a lot of factors that go with it. You may be doing 3 things right and 10 things wrong. But regardless, the if you know what you're doing, you can make adjustments. And a lot of times we never know the why of things. Okay, we gained 10 pounds, we can't take it off. Why? Well, there are reasons. And as we get older, those reasons keep compounding on top of themselves. As part of my wife's chemo treatment program, the side effects that she was having, we could address most of them. Fatigue was probably the hardest. And I found a nutritional dietary solution that wiped out months and months of chemo fog on the first day of radiation. She was taking 1 or 2 2-hour naps a day. We started her on this dietary protocol on day 1 of radiation. The morning of day 3, she woke up and hasn't had a nap literally in years. A week later, she was back at the church volunteering her time the last day of radiation. And the radiologist told us up front her fatigue would get worse. Well, the last day of radiation, we got in a car, left Houston, drove to Jacksonville, Florida, 1,000 miles. I rented a U-Haul for my parents' estate stuff. She followed me by herself 48 hours after her last radiation treatment. She drove 500 miles each day alone.
Fantastic.
No
Wow.
fatigue. And so when you start looking at what really causes things to happen, or what can you do to inhibit it, what can you do to accelerate it, those are things that really are passionate to me. And that's what I write about on a regular basis. I got 900 and some original content blogs on LinkedIn. I got about 1,500 blogs on my website. But that's what inspires me to select a topic that I like, research it, write about it, publish it. And that usually takes on a daily basis at least 90 minutes a day to do that.
Wow, Red, that's amazing.
Yeah, that is about approaching something. You know, when people have the right attitude, like you had, you said, okay, there's something you could have sat back, because I've talked to a lot of seniors that have gone through chemotherapy and radiation treatment, and there's the pros and the cons, and you can spot them a mile away. The ones that go, oh well, I just got to go through this again. It's going to be so horrible. Nothing's going to be any good. Boom, they get worse. I've interviewed many doctors, oncologists, who talk about their patients in radiation treatment and chemotherapy and their attitudes. And every one of them would tell me, hands down, their patients that had a good attitude about how they were going to approach this disease recovered quicker, faster, more completely, and handled the radiation treatment and the chemotherapy more easily than those with a negative attitude, because they look for a solution. They say, okay, how can I maybe I can take a nap, maybe I could eat something better, maybe I could read a blog from red.olaughlin and get some knowledge and learn what to do. It's talking about finding solutions. And if you have a bad attitude, you're not going to look for the solutions. If you have a good attitude, you're going to approach it, and you're going to be able to make better decisions and find better answers. And that's what you did. And apparently it must have helped your wife an awful lot, right?
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
And even today, she proofs every article I put out. I don't put it out without her looking at it, because she catches stuff that Grammarly and spell check and Google Docs spell check. I mean, everything there. I think
Right.
it's good, but she'll tell me occasionally, okay, it's fine. But otherwise, she circles what I need to go back and look at. But the whole aspect of the mental attitude is so key. I haven't had a mentor, still have a mentor, and his standard answer was, when somebody asked him, say, how are you doing today, or what's going on? He would say, excellent, as always. And I adopted that. It took me about 30 days before I could literally just say it without thinking. It's just a rote answer. But it's more than that, because the mere fact that you're saying it out loud it reinforces the body. I've had, maybe 2-3 times a year in the last decade where I'm not 100% that day. And somebody will ask me and say, well, how are you? And just, I'll blurt it out. Excellent as always. And then I'll say occasionally, sometimes I'm even better than that. But those days that I am just, I want to say, approaching marginal, I say that, and I can tell literally within a minute, I can feel something in my body change. I actually feel whatever I said happen. And when I went to a meeting early this morning, Exchange Club meeting here in Houston. Hadn't seen people in a long time. How are you? Oh, excellent as always. And it just kind of reinforces that positivity, because you've already set the bar. And when you're there every single day, and then occasionally you're above the bar, that bar just keeps you in that positive frame, and there's nothing you can't do. It's like when Dr. Jacalyn says, "Hey, what can you do this right?" And I said, "We'll make it happen. It doesn't matter. We'll make it happen."
And you do every time. You know, something I just want to
Okay,
go ahead, Fred.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, something I just wanted to elaborate on, because I think this is really important and I have to remind myself of it on a regular basis. Things are going to happen. Things are going to come up, things we didn't expect. And what's the first thing that typically happens? We get emotionally involved. Oh no, I can't believe it. I wasn't ready. But if we take this approach where we're looking for a solution, we actually take a step back, leave the emotion here and say, over here, emotion. How do we look at this and find a solution? And I think that is the case, whether it's health related, career related, personally, professionally. What are your thoughts, gentlemen? I'll go to you, Fred.
I agree. I think we've talked about it before, and I know you feel the same way, Red, that your attitude about that. You know, it says in the Bible, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death," you know, the key word there is through. You're right. We will face tribulations regardless. They're out there. They're going to come at you at the oddest time, the best or the worst time, but they're going to show up. And instead of, you know, I talk to some of these seniors and they say, "Oh yeah, well this happened and I don't know what." Instead of going through it, God says, walk through the valley of the shadow of death. They didn't say set up camp and, you know, put a tent up and put a bonfire over there and roast weenies. He said, walk through it. And that's what we got to do. And when you step back with that attitude, somehow, some way, I'm going to get through this with God. I'm going to get there. Look for that solutions. And you read, you know, these positive affirmations when you say, you know, hey, excellent as ever, you know, as always. You know, Zig would always say better than good. And I always say, hey, I'm having more fun than anybody else here in the planet. And that will change the actual chemistry in your body. When you start saying these self-affirmations out loud, it starts to make a positive change. Jacalyn, you said before with some of the issues you have, you always speak to these problems that you have out loud. This is going to go away. I'm not going to have this problem. That's what we need to do. And that's what I encourage anybody out there listening. Make a list of the issues you have and start attacking them positively.
You know, yes, Red, one thing before Red, yesterday was a day, and I know we've had this where something happens and something else and something else, and layering. And I was meeting with Red. I think I was meeting with him at 3:00 or something. It was 5 of 3. I just finished a call and I thought, I have to take a nap. I never take a nap. But I'm like, I'm exhausted from all of this solution strategizing that I'm doing. So I took a 25-minute nap with him. I told him, I said, hey, I just took a nap. I might not be totally sharp. And what did you say to me, Red?
Listen to your body.
Yes.
Yeah, pay attention to what's going on. Because that's the one thing, if you blow through it, yeah, you might be able to get by that time.
Yeah.
You can blow through it again, but it's a cumulative. And what I wanted to address to follow on with what the question you asked is stress is a component of our lives no matter what happens. It's there, it builds every single day. If we're not doing something literally every single hour, whether it's breathing, concentrations, but one of the easiest tricks that I tell people is that, let's say you're driving and you're in a hurry, you're almost behind schedule, you're coming to an intersection, you know the light is very, very short for the turn that you want to make. Maybe 3-4 cars get through at a time. You're sitting there, you're car number 4, and you're saying, well, if that first person gets through, I'll probably get through too. Then all of a sudden the light turns and it's green, but nobody's moving. And all of a sudden you can just feel that interior pressure build, because you know you're going to have to sit through another long light. And sure enough, 2 cars get through and you're stuck behind another one. And I tell people, I said, the easiest way to get rid of that immediate stress, and literally it happens instantly, is to smile. When you smile, you force muscles in your face to emanate backward into the brain. Your brain normally has whatever it thinks about. And when you're thinking, you can see all the emotions in your face, whatever they are, that brain is processing it. Well, when you counter that process with that irritation, that anxiety, that frustration, and you just start smiling, all of a sudden you're forcing a positive reaction into the brain. You can't have a positive and a negative thought at the same time. You're pushing that back into the brain. So automatically now that stress that was getting ready to come all the way down, you're pushing it back up, pushing it right out. And it's no longer, even if it's not something you're collecting. By the time you get through the turn, you have no recollection really of the fact, yeah, I'm running a little late. I usually say, well, that guy must be in a hurry if he's passing me at 20 miles an hour. But it's those things that you can do. Laughing is another one. I have a laugh that I can just burst out laughing for 20, 30 seconds and stop on a dime. But those little things change the physiology of our body. They change our mental outlook. And it's one of those things that if you just start adopting a habit, something happens that it's not right. Okay, let's just take a second. We're going to just smile about it, look at it. Okay, let's move on. You're eliminating a factor that can cause a health issue down the road. Disease starts at the cellular level in the body 99% of the time. As you start getting inflammation, the stress is something that amplifies those issues. And so it's super, super critical on any kind of everyday event. Keep the stress minimized. Get rid of whatever you've accumulated, because we have a tendency to go out there and grab a hold of it and not want to let it go. Somebody wronged us, somebody said something, whatever, it doesn't matter. Somebody in the grocery store and they're taking their time going through, you're in a hurry, you're looking at your watch, and all of a sudden now it's time. Okay, it's $35.22. Now they start rummaging through their wallet or their purse to try to find a credit card. Why didn't they do that earlier? I don't know. That's the way they you can't control them. Don't let somebody else or some other situation control your emotions. You minimize that, and you're going to be a real happy camper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Well said. Well said. Yesterday when I was having this kind of stressful day, I actually just started laughing. I just said, bring it on. Okay, let's take care of this one thing at a time. And then I started feeling better. And instead of letting that emotion come in, I actually pushed it aside and I got right down to, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. And then everything was taken care of. Yeah. But when you go down that rabbit hole, what happens is your vision is so small. It's like this, and you can't see anything and you can't get anything done. So something else I want to have Red talk about, because I think it ties nicely into this, but we're going to take a break, is I want to talk about fasting, because you are a big proponent of this and I really admire you. I have not gone down this path. I have thought about it and then thought, no, I don't think so. But I want you to share with the whole world because I think it's really important. All right. We're going to take a break and we're going to hear first from the lovely Diane Floyd-Boehm, who's one of our team members here at USA Global TV. And she has just launched another book, which became an Amazon #1 new release. And she's out there again. She's got another one coming on the way. So let's take a look and we'll be right back.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd-Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at dianefloydboehm.com. Visit dianefloydboehm.com. That's dianefloydboehm.com.
Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and a shout out to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. This is the Wise Ones, and I am here with two of the best. I want to say thank you to Ian Pelham-Turner and Helen Ashard for sharing that wonderful clip with us. Those horses are so magnificent. Their coats are just the epitome of health. So, gentlemen, Fred and Red, let's talk a little bit about fasting and how it can affect your health in a positive way. Red.
Fasting, I consider anything longer than 12 hours of fast. Most people, they get to 15 or 18 hours, they call it an intermittent fast. You're not eating for so many hours per day. Now, what does a fast really do? Well, number one, it gives your body a chance to actually recover. It allows your liver to process everything. So you're actually allowing your body time to heal itself. Now, in the big scheme of things, a 72-hour fast alerts the body, say, hey, something's going on that's not right. I haven't eaten in 3 days. And it starts cleansing itself of all non-functional cells, DNA that's broken, that's not 100%. You're basically resetting your immune system to zero, right at scratch. Now you got brand new immune system. I do a 72-hour fast every month. Most of the time it ends up over 100 hours, sometimes over 150 hours. Now, to me, a fast is water or unsweet iced tea, and that's it. No other food, nothing besides that. Now, somebody can say, well, can I have a squeeze of lime in water or something? Yeah, no problem at all. You're talking about a calorie that you sip over a half hour or something. It's no big deal. You're not going to create a metabolic response in the body. But when you look at it from a longevity perspective, this even gets more important, because one of the two major causes of aging is your human growth hormone degradation over time. When you're a youngster, it's way up there. And then as you start teenager and you're going on down, and boom, 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 by the time you get to 50 and 60 and 70, and all of a sudden now we have just a mere fraction of what we used to have. But fasting regenerates the body to create more human growth hormone. Now, why is that important? Simply the fact that you have somebody in charge. There's no chaos running around the body. As such, when that human growth hormone is up there, growth hormone, it's in charge of your growing. You now minimize a lot of age-related diseases because you're not allowing the body to open the door and receive those in. I think Clint Eastwood said, his secret to not being old was don't let the old man in. And I think somebody sang about it. But in Clint's case, he's absolutely right. If you are opening the door to age-related diseases that you have a control over, then you're actually letting the old man in, and that's not what you want. Now, what they found out at the University of Southern California is that if you combine a 5-day fast with chemotherapy, particularly on breast cancer, that a 5-day fast is as effective as a chemotherapy treatment. But if you do the in conjunction with, now your immune system is really revved up. You do and all of a sudden you get remarkable results that you wouldn't get with either one. I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a researcher. I research a lot of this information and I put it out as educational material. But University of Southern California has a lot of good data. They found also on a 5-day fast that the pancreas will remanufacture new beta cells, which are the things that create insulin. So if you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, they're finding in animal models that they can correct a type 1 or type 2 diabetic condition just with a 5-day fast. Well, most people can't do a 5-day fast, so they have a modified fasting regimen where you're bringing in about 500 calories of certain kinds of foods, and it mimics fasting. It's a fasting mimicking diet. But those are the things from your health perspective that if you can just take a day out, maybe you're only going to start this month with a 12-hour fast. Maybe next week you bump it up to 18, maybe to 20. But at some point in time, your body will not rebel against not eating, and you may be able to go 24, 30, 36, 40 hours. But to me, I do a 72-hour every month, and if I every single time I get to that day, okay, it's 24, okay, I'm going to 48. I get to 40, okay, I'm going to 72, okay, I'm going to 96. I just make that decision at that point in time. I don't set out to do 150 hours. It's just whatever happens. And that's and I do that been doing it now for several years, and I find it to be a very healthy way of living all my blood tests, everything that I do, I get my annual physical. I rarely have any individual item on my testing out of whack. Everything's in the normal range.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Red, a question that I have for you, and Fred, if you are interested in weighing in on it, is I know with me, at a certain point when I haven't eaten, I start to feel shaky. I start to feel like, I don't know, I need something to eat. And then I'll have water and I seem to get past it. Is it possible to do a fast for 12, 18 hours if you spend a lot of that time sleeping so that you don't even know you're not eating?
Take it, Fred.
I don't know.
Okay.
A long time ago, I did a 12-hour fast and stuff like that. I did it a couple of times, but I've never stayed with the practice. I know how healthy it can be, but for whatever, I just haven't kept it up. And I'm going to look into it a little bit more. And I've read some of your articles on it. They're really profound.
The fasting doesn't matter whether you're awake or asleep. Your body's going to repair itself when it sleeps. When you're fasting, you're allowing your liver to basically purge itself of the toxins and everything in its process. And it doesn't really matter whether you're asleep or awake. It's not a factor. That's a factor. You're just not eating anything. Now you'll find some people say, well, my doctor told me to eat 6 small meals a day. Well, number one, I think that's injurious to a degree because you're never letting your blood sugar come down. You're eating and it goes up and it never comes. You just keep that blood sugar high. And that's not a good thing to have in our current situation. A lot of times I may get in the middle, I'll tell Marilyn, all of a sudden, my wife, Marilyn, I say, I just got a little twinge of hunger pang. But in reality, it's probably dehydration. I'm not drinking enough at that point in time. I take a sip or 2 or 3, or maybe just guzzle down something, and I'm fine. So a lot of times it may be just a little touch of dehydration. It may happen to be also part of maybe what you ate before. You have a little hypoglycemic issue that might be rumbling in the background. So it depends on several factors. Your activity level, if you're out there just you do spinning and everything else, if you're just burning calories like crazy and you're not hydrating, then you can run into a problem. Mm-hmm. But regardless of what it is, it's the amount of time that you're not eating. Now, if you end up accelerating your normal exercise routine, you're going to need more replacement hydration. And that's one of those things you're going to have to say, well, maybe I'm not going to do a lot of my exercise during my 24-hour fast and just bypass that exercise that day, or work into it gradually and see what you can do. I mean, I would go out and run for an hour, hour and a half. I'd come back and I just guzzle water like crazy. And, that's a healthy thing to do. But then again, you don't want to have electrolyte imbalance also because you're sweating so much and you're not getting any electrolytes back into the system. Wow. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of answer that question?
Yes.
Yes. It definitely
very much
did.
so. So wine can't take the place of water, can it?
I think it can.
Grapes are good for you, right?
I like the way you think, Fred.
Well, what happens, alcohol and fructose, high energy drinks, are basically poisons. The body was going to, let's say you have a nice meal at night, and then you have a couple, 3 glasses of wine, you're feeling good, you go to bed, and then at 2:07 in the morning, you wake up. That is when your liver has finished processing the alcohol that you drank. Now, all of a sudden, your digestion was put on halt, stopped, was going nowhere until you got rid of that alcohol. So the body is processing that alcohol out of the system first, then it's going to go back. So now all of a sudden, the alcohol's gone, you're asleep, I'm awake, because the body's digestive system is starting to crank up and starting to digest the food that's been on hold for the last couple, 3 or 4 hours. So you got to, and if you're drinking a lot of Coca-Cola that has a lot of high fructose corn syrup, you're just flooding the pancreas with fructose, which because of that volume, it's a poison, and it's got to get rid of it. And again, it's one of those things that you're overworking the liver, and then you may end up with a non-fatty liver issue that can be a serious health problem down the road. But the whole issue is that alcohol is not bad in moderation, particularly red wine. But you want to pace it at the right time. So if you're going to have a glass of wine, don't have it with your dinner. have it before your dinner, a couple hours, have it a couple hours after your dinner, allow your digestive processes to flow through. I tell people generally, if you pick the right kinds of foods, you don't even need to have any liquid with your dinner, because any liquid that you have with the meal is going to dilute your digestive acids. That stomach acid now is not as potent as it was before, so you're not getting the full nutritional value out of the foods that have nutritional deficiencies anyway. So if you can get through a meal not drinking anything, and if you need to drink something, half hour before, half hour after, but during that meal time, just kind of do away with the, now if you have to, okay, fine, just gotta have a swallows are fine. But the red wine, eat, let your food digest a bit, and have a nice glass of wine, a couple beers, whatever it may happen to be. But again, moderation is the key.
See,
Good advice.
That's a fine thing from an Irishman now, I tell you that. You know what? My wife and I mean, my wife is really good at this. We make what she calls a blast almost every day. And it consists of like bananas, some apples, some fruits, some berries, blueberries if we can get them, and all that. Some carrots, some celery, some tomatoes, and a bunch of vegetables like that. Plus some turmeric, some I think some gosh, I don't know, some ginger and a couple other things. The kitchen sink and whatever in that blender, and she mixes it up. And we usually have that once a day, and it's a pretty good glass size, a good 8 ounce or better. And we find every time we keep that consistently, our bodies feel better, we rest better, we sleep better, and it just that kind of regimen too, that kind of putting those kind of good things in your body helps a lot.
There's 2 compounds that work at the cellular level to eliminate inflammation. And one of them is part of a fruit called a mangosteen. It's actually one of the xanthones, gamma mangosteen. And it gets in there, and there's a lot of chemistry involved in it, but it's such a fantastic killer of inflammation. C-reactive protein is created when your body is inflamed. I get a C-reactive protein test every single time I go to the doctor, and mine most of the time is unmeasurable. But the issue you brought up, a turmeric, curcumin, it is the other one that is as effective, pretty close to gamma mangosteen. But the issue is that turmeric or curcumin is not very bioavailable. Same thing with resveratrol. You can take it, but you're maybe only getting 5, 8, 10% of its real true value. But if you buy the turmeric, or I use raw turmeric, and I grind it up and I put a lot of pepper in mine. But the key issue is black pepper extract. It's called piperine. And if you're buying it in a pill form, you want to make sure that the curcumin or the turmeric has piperine in it, black pepper extract, because that makes it 2,000 times more bioavailable. Now you're getting some real benefit to the body as opposed to a partial benefit. But resveratrol and curcumin or turmeric are 2 that benefit significantly by that black pepper extract.
Yeah, they've said to add, to these mixed drinks and stuff, to add that black pepper if you're not getting that. And I didn't know why, but now I know why. Yeah, great.
Bioavailability.
Fantastic. Thank you, Red, and thank you, Fred. We've actually come to the end of our show, which saddens me because we have another show right after this. And I've posted all of your contact information on the social media sites. But for people who cannot read the banner, Red, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is phone number. Call me 281-687-1188, 281-687-1188, or by email, red.olaughlin, red like the color, R-E-D, .olaughlin, OLAUGHLIN @gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Red. Fred, how about you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Either FKIENLE @AOL.com, or you can just put my name in if you're on LinkedIn, put my name up in the banner there, and it'll bring up my whole bio. It has my email address and several other ways to get in touch with me. So yeah, please do that. And so just love to have anybody ask questions or see what I do and see what Red does, and ask us questions. And maybe by them asking us questions, maybe we can do some more research, find some better answers for them and solutions, like you said, Red. And it's been a pleasure. It's always an honor to be your co-host, Jacalyn.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. The pleasure is mine. I appreciate both of you, and thanks so much for being here today. A lot of great information, and now I'm making it easier for people to actually contact you because it's all there on social media. So
Great.
Do go there and share it if you would on your pages as well.
Will do. Okay. Thanks,
All right.
Jacalyn.
Thanks, everybody. We're coming right back after this with the Business Talk Show, and my co-host Alcini, and our guest is Carrie Barrett. We'll be right back. Thanks, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Red. Bye-bye.
Bye.